Welcome to a lesson on bioaccumulation. Now, this is the process in which chemicals which enter the food chain relatively low down, say at a producer or a primary consumer, can build up to toxic levels in organisms higher up in the food chain, such as a secondary consumer, or maybe even a tertiary or quaternary consumer. Now, for this particular lesson, we're going to use the example of DDT. This is known as an insecticide. That means it's a chemical designed to kill insects. And by the way, if you ever see the letters C-I-D-E at the end of the word, it often means it's something to do with killing something else. So as examples, we have herbicide, which is to kill plants, homicide, which is to kill another human, regicide, which is to kill a king or a queen. So in this case, we have an insecticide, which means to kill insects. So, the reason we used DDT was in order to prevent our crops from being consumed by aphids. So, as an example, we have a producer at the bottom of our food chain. We had pea plants. Now, these pea plants were infested by aphids. Aphids like to take energy from those pea plants. So what farmers decided to do was spray those crops with the chemical called DDT. This was to kill the aphids. However, those aphids were then eaten by ladybirds. Those ladybirds were then eaten by birds like a thrush, and those thrushes were then eaten by organisms higher up, such as a hawk. Here's where the problem begins. The pea plants were sprayed. So when the aphids tried to consume energy from those pea plants, each aphid got a little bit of poison inside it. Now, sometimes enough to kill them, sometimes not. Now, when ladybirds eat the aphids, they don't just eat one, they eat many. And so while there might have been a small amount of poison in each aphid, because the ladybird is eating many aphids, it then ends up with a large amount of poison inside the ladybirds. Now, still, this was actually at safe levels for the ladybirds, but then it got passed on to the thrush. Now, the thrush, again, it can't just survive on one ladybird at a time. It has to eat many ladybirds. And so this time, we have a huge amount of the toxin now entering the thrush. Finally, a hawk doesn't just eat one thrush. The hawk eats many thrushes. And so we end up with a huge amount of toxin inside the thrush. This is bioaccumulation at work. Now, unfortunately, this particular chemical, DDT, hugely affected the population of hawks. What it did was it made the eggshells weaker when they laid them. This meant that more of the eggs got cracked before the babies were born, and so therefore we ended up with many hawks dying out as a result of the DDT being sprayed to kill the aphids.